Full screen. All right, here we go. Section 7.5, apply properties of logarithms. So hopefully you're feeling somewhat comfortable with logs, and again, great day in class if you were there, getting familiar with the log function. So there are three log properties: the product property, the quotient property, and the power property. Three properties, and we need to know them. You're welcome to write these on a note sheet. I'd highly encourage it. The way that most books I've always seen it present them is kind of, to me, a little backwards. Basically, the way I'd like you to look at this is if I took log of some value m, and the bases have to be the same. It's the only problems we'll deal with. So after a while, we kind of stop thinking about it. But it has to be two logs of the same base, and I'm adding them together. Then we take the value of the log, the m, and the n part, and we multiply them together. So these two pieces combine to one log function of m times n. Again, add two logs together, we multiply the insides. When you subtract two logs, then you divide the insides. So again, I like to parentheses things. So log of m minus log of n combines into log of m divided by n. And that's called the quotient property. Add logs, multiply. Subtract logs, we divide. All right? I'm a basic kind of guy. Notice this subtract sign and the division sign. Man, they look a lot alike. And then the plus sign, if you tilt it slightly, becomes multiply. So add, we multiply the insides. Subtract, we divide. I hope that's a nice way to help you remember. And then we have the power property. Basically, if you take a number and multiply it times log of some m value, that you can turn that into a power. So that's m raised to the power n. This number in front jumps in as a power. That's called the power property. Again, huge that you know these. I would definitely write them on your note sheet. And now we just figure out ways to apply them. So these are kind of fun exercises to get you warmed up. Somebody tells you, hey, log base 5 of 4 is 0.861. And it'd be neat if you really appreciated that 5 raised to the power almost 1 is 4, which is almost 5, right? So that's a realistic number. And 5 raised to the power 1.365 would be slightly bigger than 5, which is 9. Again, just nice to evaluate that. If I wanted to figure out now what log, let's say somebody came up and said, hey, take log of 4/9 base 5. You would say, oh, I could take this value, right? I could take log of 4 minus log of 9. So I'd use the quotient property to pull that apart. And then I could just subtract 0.86. I could subtract 1.36 from 0.861. Again, it's an exercise to hopefully get you to apply, here, apply the quotient rule. You could also do that for 36. Hopefully you recognize that 36 is 4 times 9. And I could use the power rule to pull those apart and then add those quantities. And then I think finally the power rule, 81, hopefully you recognize is really 9 squared. You could use the power rule to write that as 2 log of 9. And we know from the given information that log of 9 is 1.36, and we'd multiply by 2. And let me scroll down. There's your final answer. I'm not super concerned with these types of problems. I think they're interesting. We'll do a few in class. But the next problem, if you want to try one right here, hopefully you're looking at a way to get 4 into some combination of 2 and 8. And you're looking for how do I get 16 from 8 and 2, right? So if you want to give these a go ahead. I'm going to give you the answers in a second. And here they come. And there are the answers. So hopefully with this guy, I probably would have done, either 8 divided by 4 and then 8 divided by 2 and then use the quotient property. So you would have had log of 8 minus log of 2, right? And if I subtracted the 1.89 and subtracted 0.63 from 1.89, I should get this answer. 16, I would just multiply them. You would then add these two. All right, let's keep going. So these are more important, I think. So the first one says, hey, can you expand this out? Like, how did I get to this point of having 7x squared over y? Hopefully you're like, oh, 7 times x squared, that's the power, excuse me, that's the product property. And then dividing by y, that's the quotient property. And then raising power 2, that's the power property. So we do this in 3 pieces. Notice we can pull the first part apart, the first piece apart, the division, by using the subtraction of logs. Do you see that? This 7x squared that was on top is now written as minus log of the bottom, y. And you're kind of done with log of y. Now you got to look at the 7 and the x squared. You can pull those apart using the product property, right? 7, log of 7 plus log of x squared would get you back up here to 7x squared. And then finally, the last piece that we're looking at is this x squared. And here we can use the power property and write it as 2 log of x. Again, these problems are really important. We really need to work on these, so we will do more of that, of course, in class. And we can do the opposite, which is condensing. So put all this stuff together. Again, I think you hopefully will eyeball this 3 in front and say, let me do the power property. Right? So they're going to write that as log of 3 raised to the power 3, which is 27. I think they actually hold off here. Yep. And then they say, look, because these two logs add, that's the same as saying log of 2 times 3 to the third. And hopefully you see the subtraction of logs. Say, oh, let's divide now. So the last one, again, nice if they had used some parentheses here, textbook folks. And then you could expand all this, but hopefully you just see that 2 3's up here will cancel with the 9, and you're left with 3 to the 1, and 3 to the 1 is 3 times 2 is 6, and you are done. See if you can't do these guys. Again, you should say this guy you want to expand. You want to figure out where he came from, and you've got multiplication and division, and you've got some power properties. Should be able to break this into 4 log terms. And then the second one, again, please try these, right? Really, write this right now without going to the next slide. Try to condense this. Again, use the power property, use the product property, use the quotient property. And hit pause when you're ready. I'll show you the answer. And there are the answers. So again, hopefully you got these 4 pieces. You can see that log of 7, well, actually, let's go to the 3, right? The 3 would bounce up and become y to the third. The 2 here would bounce up and become x squared, right? And then these guys are being multiplied together, and then we divide it and divide it again. This second division, oh, that's a little bit of a tricky one, right? Because we want to divide to get the x squared on the bottom. If you had written plus here to multiply, you'd need parentheses, right? So some of you may have written minus parentheses log of 4 plus 2 log of x, and that would be correct too. And then condensing this, again, power property first, x squared, the plus would multiply and combine these, and then minus the y. And you're cool with ln, right? ln is just, again, log base e. And if you write that on your quiz or test, I'll give you full credit. I have no problem with that. So this would be a good answer as well. Change of base. So change of base, whoops, is super important. I didn't mean to cross off of, underline it. Change of base is so useful for our calculator. Again, our calculator only does common log, which is log base 10 of x, and it also does natural log, ln of x. And so what if you wanted to evaluate like log base 3 of, 16? Well, the change of base, the calculator allows that. Change of base would say this is the same as change to any base, and we pick log base 10 because, it's the common log. And you can change it like this, log base 3. Let's say you spilled yogurt on your calculator and your log button didn't work anymore. Hey, change to log, the natural log, which is ln of 16 over ln of 3. So here are a couple examples for you to look at. Like here, if I wanted to figure out the actual value of this, 6 raised to what power is 11? 1.3383. 6, oh, that's the same problem, sorry. So again, I just went over that on the last slide. I didn't realize, forgot they were doing this as well. but they change bases. Log of 11 over log of 6. And again, the parentheses would help, right? Log of 11 divided by log of 6. And you really have to try these on your calculator. Make sure you have to close this parentheses. Please try these, right? Again, easy, on the calc. Type it in. Log, parentheses will open, 26, close parentheses, divide by log of 16. Again, you'd expect the number to be 1 point something, right? Both of these, right? 5 raised to some power is 13. Here are the answers. Ready, set. There they are. Hey, nice job. We're done with the video. I will see you tomorrow in class.